In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is going on, everybody? How's it going? Thanks again for joining me for another BG-Cast live podcast. Of course, it is Tuesday, not Wednesday, so it is not a We Are So Back Wednesday, unfortunately. And you know what that means. When I do a Tuesday show, I go on call starting tomorrow. So, nonetheless, I just want to give shout outs to everybody in the chat. Say hey to Don, Dyanna, Susan. Thanks for joining us. Missing time 420. Michelle, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for being here. So, of course, I decided to trip everybody up tonight. You guys have always seen me wear black t-shirts, and you guys have always seen me wear sleevelesses, but today I would decide I would do a white t-shirt. I was feeling a white t-shirt today. But nonetheless, thanks for being here. I'm really looking forward to my guest. But before we get to my guest, let's talk about the people I want to talk about, New Earth Entertainment. First off, of course, she was first last week, and she always enjoys being first. So we're going to do her first. But we have Dyanna, Transcending Ascension. She's been on the show before, guys. I want you to check out her kids' books. Okay, I brought these up last week, and this is really awesome because now we have New Earth Entertainment for kids. We have kids' books that are actually spiritually enriching, and they help our kids kind of get a little bit of a kind of a glimpse of an understanding of how this all works at such a young age. And she has A is for Ascension, the ABCs of metaphysics. And we have the tiny superhero, Aiden. And these are really amazing stories, guys. I have read them both. And I'm going to say that to all you spiritual parents out there, if you want to get something good for your kids, all right, or you want to get a bedtime story for them, you know, to help them at a very young age start to realize their potential, their power, what they're capable of, not allowing themselves to have the imagination beaten out of them by the conditioning of this world. I highly recommend you go over to Dyanna's website and you check out one of her books. I have it linked in both the Rumble and the YouTube description down at the bottom of the page. And guys, this is how we support each other. This is how we build New Earth. This is how we build the foundation for New Earth, is supporting each other, you know, supporting the independent creators, supporting the New Earth Entertainment, the New Earth Music, Sons of Suns, Frank Castle. He's been on the show. All right. This is how we do it, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my next person. Of course, we have Divine Creation Gifts, Lynn, Metaphysics Shop, straight out of West Virginia, doing the home good stuff, man. I'm going to tell you this. So if you guys go over to her, you do get a free ship 50 free shipping code on all orders over $50. And this isn't your big mainstream crystal mart. This is a homegrown shop. She does a lot of this stuff herself. And if you guys want to get some shirts, some apparel, she's got an apothecary. And she has ritual supplies and tools, journals, crystals, and jewelry. And I am going to recommend you check out her sister project, Earthborn The Remembering. Yes, there is a YouTube channel, and she has been doing episodes. So, guys, go ahead and give her a follow, too, man. I am just very proud of these individuals. They're doing so good. So, guys, don't go to your big box crystal shop. Support Divine Creation Gifts. Support somebody in the community. This is how we begin New Earth, guys. We help each other out. And last but not least, my friend, David the Lion. And I am calling him the pioneer in New Earth Entertainment because he has a comic book series. Phil, I see you there. What's up, man? He has a comic book series, The Lion of God, and his movie, Dear Lilith, I Love You. It's about to go up on 2 more film festivals, but he already won an award at 1 film festival. And he's even been featured in newspapers, guys, about bringing spiritual archetypes back to comic books. So, guys, this is, like I say, this is propaganda-free, psyop-free entertainment. Okay, you can't find this stuff anywhere else except in our community. And these are the people who are putting their foot forward and helping establish this foundation. Because, guys, this is how we ultimately break away from the false matrix system. This is how we do it. So ultimately, I want you guys to go support all of them, give them a like and a follow, help them out if you're looking for crystals, if you want some good books for kids, or if you want a comic series that is not laden with psyops and propaganda, as well as a movie. Please go support them. But nonetheless, guys, let's get down to it. No more wasting any time. So my guest, she is a lifelong experiencer and survivor, evolving from abductee to contactee, hybrid, walk-in, and now consult for multi-dimensional awareness. She's a motivational speaker, author, and radio/screen host. She shares her hard-won wisdom from a life shaped by extraordinary encounters and deep transformation. Stone's journey includes surviving child trafficking, ritual abuse, MK Ultra programming, and complex psychological warfare. Stone has integrated healing through psychology, quantum practices, and spiritual insight. Professionally trained in QPT, psychology, and advocacy, Stone bridges self-awareness and spirit to support others on their awakening path. As a multidimensional intuitive, Stone experiences contact with grays, reptilians, light beings, walk-ins, and shadow entities, alongside frequent craft sightings, luminous orbs, and out-of-body events. Stone's mission is to help others reclaim sovereignty, mana, activate soul remembrance, and awaken to the deeper truth beyond illusion. She hosts a weekly online Zoom gathering, which is awesome. Hearthfire Hangout, a sacred space and support community where experiencers and seekers alike come together to connect, share, and cultivate an understanding. I love that word. Cultivate an understanding of their own extraordinary adventures. Guys, she's also a fan of the show. She's always in the chat. I'm so excited to have her here. Let's bring Stone Hobbit to the stage. What is up?
Hello. Yeah, hi. That was really awesome. I just like, was that really me? Yeah, that's really me.
Hey, Michelle.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. Well, I already have so many things to talk with you about that I've written down, and now just from your bio alone. So I have a lot of things I want to talk to you about. But first off, I just want to extend my thanks. For you you're always in the chat, man. You're always contributing to the conversation. You're here, you check out the show, and I personally, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for being here, man.
Honestly, I give credit where credit's due. I love coming to the group and hanging out because real conversations is where it's at. And it's all ebbs and flows. We come and go. And to be able to hang around long enough and get to know somebody through the continuum of these deep conversations. We're allowed to have these conversations. We're not banned from actually communicating with each other. It's just how we communicate, and we do that by regular attendance. So, much appreciation, because I know, having my own groups and stuff, I know how hard it is to commit every week to getting out there and having that conversation. Sorry, I've got an orb flying around me.
I saw that. No, and I want to say thank you. And you want to know what? One of the things, and I've said this on this show so many times before, and it bears repetition because I think still some people don't get it. What we're doing is very strong. It's very powerful. We are quite literally altering the collective consciousness with every single conversation, every single realization. We're constantly doing it, and that's why we as people, we cannot doubt our own power subjectively. We can't. It's been beaten out of us. It's been conditioned out of us. Like, I call it the human shame or like the subconscious shame complex. It's like, we think we're less than, that we don't have these abilities, this power within us to actually just even single-handedly cultivate a change in this world. And when we understand that and we come together, that's really where the magic happens. That's really where everything goes down. So no, thank you so much for bringing that up. But Stone, it's your first time on the show. All right. and we want to get to know you. And I know we kind of went through the bio and we got to know you a little bit, but I want to dive a little deeper. I want to hear about how this all began for you. And I call it the burning bush moment. And of course, we could have multiple burning bush moments, and that's fine. You can include that in there too. But I want to know, what was that moment or the many moments that led you to opening up yourself and realizing that there is more to this existence than meets the eye?
To be honest with you, I found myself in a wardrobe, totally covered over with clothing, protecting myself with the door closed in the dark, sitting in silence, hoping nobody could find me. And I got a slap in the face. I don't know who did it. It was, not human. It was not human. It was more a spiritual slap. And I just stood up, opened the door, stepped out, and kicked everybody out of my house. and as soon as I did that, and they saw the fire in my eyes because I was more than serious, I realized I had to control the beast within me, because I was ready to lose it. I was ready to give up. Had enough. I'd had enough by that stage. And when I was in that, that fetal state, I was saying, I had enough. I want out. I can't do this anymore, and this wasn't the first time the guardians, if you want to call them, or beings have shown themselves or stepped up and said, oh, no, it's not that easy. So it's like, okay. So I realized from then on, and I realized that the experiences that I was having, the abilities that I had to make friends with this. I had to make friends with the body. I had to make friends with my mind. I had to make friends with everything that had gone on in my life to realize that I counted for something. And as soon as I started saying, yes, I do count. Yes, I do count. I don't need anybody to tell me that I count for something. Otherwise, why did I go through so much to be here? Everybody has a story. Everybody has that compassion in their heart. What is our purpose? And so there had to be something more behind me being in the time frame that I was in, with all the stuff that I'd gone through. And it was just like, as soon as I realized that I had been having contact constantly ever since I can remember, with different beings coming and going. I had different abilities. It all just sort of fell into place. And then I had to go, okay, now what can I do with what I've got? If suddenly you knew what was going to happen today, how would you change your actions today to better equip yourself for tomorrow?
Absolutely.
That is what played out for me, was over and over again. I had these beings that would come along and put little notes in my letterbox, or ring me up on the phone, and it was myself doing it. It was another version of myself, my future self, or parallel, whatever it was coming back to give me a warning or a message. Now, I followed these, and the paths that they took me on were not what I had expected. And I do feel like today that I read some of these messages wrong. But it didn't stop me coming back to the path that I was meant to be on anyway. It was going to lead me to where I'm at now anyway. So it's, it's the whole crossroads. It's the whole kundalini. We out here and then we come in with the experience, aha moment, and out here again. So it was part of that growth for me. Finding the acceptance for me was the inner standing. One day it was like I was so angry. I was so angry at this life that they'd put me in, that I said I was trying to find my higher self. I had a bone to pick with my higher self. Why did you do this to me? Why do you do this to people? And through that journey, I have to say I found myself. I found inner standing. When I found inner standing, I found my inner child. I then could go further and communicate with my inner child and find out all the wounds. I was able to, like, the beings gave me this window, and the window was I was able to separate my emotional self from my childhood physical self who had experienced all that shit. Excuse the French.
No, you're all good.
I'm trying to be as polite as I can here. And in doing that, I was able to say, now I can talk to that inner child. And at night, where I once upon a time used to get down on my knees and pray, I now say thank you to my inner child, and we have a conversation. And basically, I'm tucking her in. I'm communicating with her. So any worries and shit that she had from whenever, I'm now her caretaker. I'm now responsible for my inner child. I'm not the victim. I'm not trapped in that yesterday. I broke that programming. And what I'm doing now is, when I can communicate with that inner child, I wake up in the morning I feel like I've got new knowledge. I've got new information, because somewhere inside me, that child was able to let go of that rubbish.
Amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's sort of how I went. And it's like everything that we do is a test. It's like I had to take myself out of the reality and deprogramming. You were talking about why we do stuff and why it takes us so long to wake up to what we're doing, and it was the deprogramming. We're taught from a very early age through influences, mimicking everything. They know all of this. If you really dive deep into psychology, they've got it all mapped out. They know how we work.
Yeah. They have a, that's the one thing, I give credit where credit's due. Just like you, they have a very, and I mean very deep understanding of the human psyche and human consciousness. They understand exactly how we tick.
Well, it's lush, isn't it? It's lush. It's like when they need it for themselves, they put us into situations and we end up producing the chemicals. If you're going to say you feel bad, well, guess what? You're going to feel bad. And that frequency is going to ripple out from you, and everybody else is going to, be affected. And before you know, this is just going to keep going and keep going and keep going. All you got to do is transmute that negative energy, see it for what it actually is. Where is that information going? Where is the energy going? What was it that triggered you? When you can see where the triggers are coming from,
absolutely,
you might not be able to heal your, PTSD, but you can find ways to manage it. You can find ways to go, okay, that's a trigger. I can feel it. I can feel what it's doing inside me. I'm going to tap that out now. I'm going to feel where it is. Why is it in that area? Okay, and release it. We're programmed to be in stuck states.
Oh, 100%.
Pull yourself out of it, because it's their energy. They don't need it from us anymore. They don't need to keep us in these stuck states. They're going to keep playing their distractions and everything else to divide and conquer us mentally and physically and spiritually. we're like, no, sorry, mate, that ain't working though this time round.
Dude, I'm telling you. So, have you ever heard? Because have you ever heard Lucia's other name? You know that Lush has another name.
I don't know it by any other. It's just
No, no,
energy.
no. I'll tell you. So in the in the the chat's always getting wild. But in old Buddhist traditions and in old Taoist traditions, they referred to Lush as dukkha.
Dukkha, yeah.
And dukkha is the energy that we emit when we are in a very intense negative emotional state. And it's also released when we have an untrained mind. And you take those two things there too. Look at the entire population that we're dealing with in a constant negative state and a whole bunch of untrained minds.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see why this has become a food source for some particular entities at this point. So
Oh yeah. I mean, they can. I've seen some. I've seen shadow beings. I've seen what I call parasitical entities. They are like, a family will get a hex or a curse on them and stuff, and these parasite entities will come in and they'll feed off them, creating chaos over and over and over again. And it's a generational thing. I I had an experience where I was able to see one hanging off a guy. I had to call him the host. The guy, the actual human, was the host, and the parasite being the being. The host knew that I knew. The being knew that I knew. The being knew that the host knew. So it was very interesting, the fight between what I was seeing, the host trying to break free from this being. And the being didn't want the host to be there because he knew that I could see him. So there was this tug of war going on, and I stayed in that situation until they both accepted the fact that this chap knew that there was another being there, and he was of Asian descent, and he had to go and do some cleansing. He had to go and do some work, but he needed confirmation that there was something else going on and causing him and his family the issues. There were no words spoken between us. It was just a nod. It was just communication in the eyes. Same with the being that was hovering over top of him. So seeing stuff like that, and different, and the orbs and the light beings and ghosts and whatever you want to call them, all the different types of energy beings, from angels and solid forms turning up, and others around me seeing them right into the photos and videos that I capture. It's like, this is very real. This is my reality. And if I can see them, then everybody else has the ability to see them too. If I need to, I work on the premise of, which one out of the 100th monkey do you want to be? Do you want to be number 0 at the end? Count for nothing? Do you want to be the one in the middle? Also 0, counts for nothing. Or do you want to be the number 1? So lead by example. So
absolutely.
I'm of the theory that I have to be my best version. I'm not always. I got to balance it out. We've got to stay centered. So, but by knowing what my worst version is, and knowing what my, possible future self can obtain, my higher self can obtain, then that's where I like to go. So,
amazing.
We all can do it. People are blinded by distractions so much. It's absolutely crazy. Like you said, the way out is within. Once we understand, and I hear people talk about this, that, and everything else, about how to reach this, but as soon as they hit the word understand, I'm like, whoa, recoil, because they're still under someone else's shadow. They're still standing under someone else's limited, stuck states. So when you start working from in here, not out here, somebody else's theories, then you start moving. You start getting a bit of traction because you know what you're capable of. You can't lie to yourself because you already know the truth.
You are speaking my language, Stone. You froze up a little bit. I'll hold space for you till you come back. But I was gonna say you are speaking my language. You are speaking the language of BG Cast. There you go. You're back. Yep, you're back. You're back. Good. So, but I'm just saying, your speed. This is you and I. You and I are on the very. I mean, dude, we're on the same wavelength to a T, with everything that you said. I want to bring up some stuff. So about your beginning, when you finally acknowledged your experience, and that what you were experiencing is real, and this is who you truly are. You started to live in your true authenticity.
Yep.
You started to, I think a lot of us in this community, and I actually have some questions. Phil, I saw what you said about entities feeding on people in this community. We're going to talk about that next for sure. We're going to talk about that next. But, a lot of us in this community, we have a period of time where we try to suppress who we really are. I have been guilty of it too in the past. I have. I'm not without fault when it comes to that. But it's when we step into, our true authenticity and let our light shine the way that it's meant to be. That's ultimately the best service that we can do for ourselves. And just when you said it, you got up and you like kicked everybody out of your house and you were like, no, this is changing right now. I'm standing in my power right now. And that's just absolutely amazing. I want to give you all the kudos in the world for that. That's some real strength. Also too, you are enough. That's also too what I heard you kind of like bring out there. I got, you are enough, that you have you found this out about yourself. You found out your abilities, and you allowed it to transform your life, and it made you realize that you are enough. And that's something that I think a lot of us, I even struggled with that a little bit up until a point too, that we are enough, man. All of us are. And we have to stand strong in that. We have to know our worth. And, when it comes to this journey in ourselves, I also love how you talk about the inner child accountability. That's freaking awesome. Instead of letting your inner child rule you, and again, it's happened to the best of us. It's even happened to me too. Instead of letting it rule you, it's about healing it, working with it, walking alongside it. Essentially, that is a part of you. And I just also want to say, I love how you use understanding. I love it because this is, that's exactly like you said. You push out all of the distractions. You stop following everybody else's narrative. You stop following everybody else's story, and you go within and you start to evolve from there. And that becomes a catalyst in and of itself for the best kind of growth, the best kind of evolution that you can find. So I just wanted to throw that in there and just say, man, spiritual warrior story, Stone. Awesome. Spiritual warrior story.
See, thank you for that. Thank you for that. It's like, I look at the words, I look at the programming, I look at the control of who says what. See, I was going to counseling for what I'd gone through. People had told me that I was hurt and I was damaged. Well, fix me. I want to know what's broken. So then they gave me all these labels and all this information, and my head was like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Which made me sicker and sicker and sicker, and everybody around me and my environment. And then I thought, stuff this, and I went and picked up a psychology book. And I was like, there's no way that I could do this psychology because I can't even do the big words. And it was just like, yeah, you can. And I was just like flying through it. It's like I knew this stuff already because I'd lived it, but I didn't know it had terminologies. I didn't know that it had a whole paragraph on what's wrong with you and how it happens. And I started saying, well, that's wrong. Well, I didn't experience that, but this is how it was for me. I wasn't hurt until I discovered I was hurt. I lived a life of feeling like this was what everybody was experiencing. This was life,
Mhm.
and it wasn't until my adolescence, teenage days that I realized, hey, wait a minute, this needs to stop. This is no good for me. This
100%.
is, and then I got sent away for a whole year from my family. I was totally separated. I wasn't allowed any communication. The only communication I got was when my parents were divorcing. Um, and then after that, I discovered all of this other stuff. So I realized the bloodlines, the hybridization, the
Oh
genetic
yeah.
manipulation in the medical industry, the whole corruption in the ACC, the psychology side of it. I saw what was going on, what was wrong with school and the education, and it just kept escalating. And I'm asking myself, why is there so much against us being here? Why is every industry trying to make me sick?
It's
And
anti-human, is it not? It's like there's an anti-human agenda that just exists throughout this whole reality.
yeah, but why did they keep putting me in these situations? What was it they wanted from me? What was I producing that was so lucrative to them? But at the same time, I had all these orbs. I had all these visitations. Anybody that came and visited could see them as well. So there had to be something more about me. So I went in and I went, wow, okay, this is bloody awesome. I got to have an opportunity, and it was a privilege I was doing Fulong Duffer, right? We work on
Okay.
ourselves. I was doing Fulong Duffer, and, some of you guys have already heard it. And thanks everybody for coming along and supporting it.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks, guys.
I'm standing there with these other people, and we're doing our kata, and I look up and I get my reflection in the mirror, and I'm not just seeing me, I'm seeing everybody else. And we've got this tunnel of tube of light coming from the top of our heads, going straight into this middle, and it's all joining together, and it's like this undulating energy. And it just like this whole glow just came over me, because that's us. That is us. That's the energy that we create. When I have that, when I go into my remote healing and all the stuff that I do, I now see that, and I can go up to it and I can touch it. It's a living energy. It's who I'm part of. That it doesn't matter what label people give it, whether it's God, whether it's Source, whether it's Jesus Christ, whatever you want to label it. If I'm using it for the best of myself and humanity, and it's about the intent behind how you use the energy that you're aware of, that's where the magic lies, as far as I'm
Absolutely.
concerned.
I would
This is
completely
us,
agree.
and we can make anything happen. Right now, we're in the Garden of Eden, and we need to clean up our backyard. And the only way we can do that is pick up a stone and give her a call.
No, 100%. No, I completely agree with you. And no, and it's ultimately, I mean, everything you say just rings so true, because even what you were saying about the whole psychology thing, like it's really funny, because it's psychology in a sense is inner work. It is. It's just it's inner work with they try to remove the spirit out of it. Don't get me wrong. They try to take spirit out of it, but no, it is inner work. And what you just said about the Garden of Eden is in our backyard and we need to clean it up. Like that's ultimately why we're here. We're here to reclaim this planet in a lot of ways. I think that's the mission here. And how do we reclaim the planet? I think you said it perfectly. Is we pick up that stone and we give it a call. But with that metaphor you just said, though, we lead by example. We embody these spiritual principles into the physical. It's not about escaping the physical realm. And I was actually talking with somebody about this the other day. Actually, my friend Nick, he's been on the show quite a few times, but he was saying, like, a lot of the mainstream spiritual crowd, I'm just kind of done with them because like they're trying to kill the ego. They want to leave this realm. And I'm like, and I agree with him on that because it's like, no, like you chose to come here and be human. Your job is to bring heaven to earth. It's not to leave preemptively early and then try to escape this experience. You have to embrace it. And that's ultimately why, like, I call it, we're developing, people like you and I and other people in the chat too, we're developing what I call grassroots spirituality, collar spirituality, because ultimately, at least in my eyes, it's not about killing the ego. It's about softening it. So when you soften the ego, what you allow for what I would call kind of a merging of unity, consciousness, and individualization. You kind of open up that gateway for that. And through doing that, you in turn, through softening your ego and not killing it, you're embracing the human experience, which you chose to come here and do. Okay. And not only are you embracing it, you're bringing a piece of heaven to earth when you do that. That is what we are here to do. It's not about escaping. This isn't an escape room, guys. Okay. Yes. And maybe we can kind of say, and we got to realize and we got to remember, don't get me wrong, but it's not, once we realize and remember who we are, that who we are truly at the core of our being, our true nature, we channel that heat. That's what we're supposed to do, man. So I just wanted to say, very awesome, Stone. Now I want to bring up Phil's comment real quick because, and then Michelle had something she wanted me to ask you about too. So there is definitely entities feeding on some people in this community, and I know some people in the chat are going to 100% agree with that statement too. So I want to get your kind of experience on this. I want to get kind of like what you've seen. I've seen some very interesting things, but there's a lot of what I would call spiritual traps too, that kind of like lure people in, and they and it causes these entity attachments. So I'm just curious about your experiences. What have you seen when it comes to this? Because I think we do need to be aware of this. Just because we're spiritually attuned and we're connected to our divine spark doesn't mean we can't open ourselves up to attachment.
Oh no, we get attacked. I personally, even with all the contact that I have, I still get attacked. I get attacked. And, people talk about targeted individuals and stuff. They're targeted for this reason or this reason. At the end of the day, the reason it's insignificant. It's energy. They're harvesting energy. All right. And you got to cut it off at the knees. But you've got to be able to identify it in the first place. Now, you were talking about ego. When we discover that ego has kept us safe for a long time, but we no longer need its massive participation, and we'll take care of it, and it can have a holiday, and you can tap in and communicate with it, so you get that under control. All right, you get the voices under control. You figure out where it's all coming from. You work out what is yours and what is sonic controls, what is frequency, what is somebody else's that you might be picking up on, because there's a lot of things that are going on. There's all these different frequencies around us. We live in a bowl of soup of frequency. All right. And Absolutely. If you think about what we've got around us, I look at it. Okay. I'll give you a little bit about where I come from. I see myself as being able to tap into multi-dimensions because each chakra is aligned. This is like the brain or the portal entrance, cockpit, whatever, Stargate, whatever, into the dimensions. And as a reflection of the dimensions, we have the rainbow. The rainbow, each of the colors equals a frequency or a density within that frequency. And this is how I see myself. So when I'm in these frequencies, I'll communicate with different beings. So if I'm in a different state over here and I feel like there's a presence, the first thing I do is, what is the color that jumps out at me the first in the room? Is it because of what I'm wearing? Is it because of the frequency I'm already in? Then I will start seeing and sensing those beings. Now, with every dimension that I have experienced, there's good and bad. I've never been in one that has only good or only bad. Okay. If I go into any kind of scenario, it is, I trust no one. I trust nothing. I trust myself. I have codes for myself. And if I find myself stumbling on those codes, then I know it's not me. So, as we are creatures that are able to be possessed, I take that into consideration. So if I'm able to be possessed, I need to build up those areas so that doesn't happen. If they can get in, then I can get out. So when I'm now clearing all of these levels of communication from all these dimensions, I now realize I've got something to protect. It's not just my inner self, my inner awareness. It's like, I know what I stand for. I know the power that we have. This is just me saying this for me. You guys are all doing your own adventure. But if I can, I don't know if I'm mental or whatever, but
you're not mental. I'm just gonna say you're not mental. You're not mental at all.
I feel like I got through whatever it is that I got through. I don't know why I did. I don't know fully why I'm here, but I'm going to make the most of enjoying the time that I am here. I'm going to step in and say hello and thank you to myself. I'm going to give myself that appreciation. So when something that's foreign to me, that's not me, that is another presence comes in and tries to hijack me, and it's a regular thing, and all it has to do is, if you're sleeping, if you have got a partner and you sleep next to them, your guys' information from the whole day is going to be shared. And it only takes a little bit. You only need a little bit. And this was something I learned years ago. If I know this is going to cause issues, but I'm sorry. You just got to look into it, okay? If suddenly you get the impression that your partner is cheating on you, or you start feeling aggressive towards them or whatever, you've got to remember, you're only picking up on little bits of information. But over a long period of time, it reveals itself. And this is why things go to custard the way they do, because little bits start bringing in that, and when you start getting that, that's when you start getting these parasites. Okay, they know that if you are in these situations, they know how to play with the energies, and we just got to say, hey, no, you're having an experience too. Don't just, think about somebody else for a change instead of just yourself. If you're in that relationship, if you are in a relationship, everybody needs to be aware of the other entities that are out there always feeding off us. People sit down and watch TV. They don't realize. I had an experience where I went to church with a friend of mine. I was going there just to support him. I don't do churches because of what I see in there. And most gatherings I don't do because of what I see in there. But I went with this friend, and he was, as soon as I stepped in there, it was like for elderly. And I was so disgusted in the parasitical feeders that I was seeing feeding off all of these hosts. As soon as my friend sat down, he was nearly 70. As soon as he sat down, he fell asleep. That's because this being hooked into him straight away. And I call them bottom feeders. All right. And when you get, if you have any kind of parasitical attachment, a lot of our problems come from, we have the physical parasites first, and that also ties in with the spiritual parasites. All right.
Real quick, if you don't mind me asking, what do you feel about the as above, so below concept with that? Because do you feel that maybe the physical parasites and the energetic parasites are, maybe the physical parasites could be a manifestation of the energetic parasites? I just wanted to pick your brain on that real quick.
Could be, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have been in locations, as a herbologist, I've grown plants and I've kept it 100% quarantined. But then you go out one day and you come back and you find an insect in there that should not be there for no reason whatsoever. but the plant's memory has produced it. Put out the pheromones has called it in. There are so many things there that unless you're there doing it, watching it unfold and stuff, I say yes, there is a connection between the physicals and the spirituals when it comes to parasitical entities. You know, you got to have an in and you got to have an out. Okay, you've got to. It's like nodes and antipodes. There has to be some way. When I want to tap in or communicate with the beings that have visited me, if I think about them or talk about them too much, they're going to show up. I'm going to get a visitation. I'm going to get messages. It's like, this is what telepathy is. If you really want to have a conversation with a being that you've already been in contact with, and I say we all have, one way or another, we've all had contact, then that channel is right there. You're going to start thinking about them. You're going to start hearing them talking to you. You're going to go like, okay, do you have my best interests at heart? If you don't, then you're a parasite. You can leave. Poof, go.
Absolutely.
Get out of here. Our light energy is so intense that they try every aspect they can to feed and harvest of us. When we turn around and say no, when we say no, they are revealed.
Oh, I would completely agree, and I know a lot of us. Even I actually know people in the chat who have experienced things like this as well, and that's why I asked you that question, because one of the biggest things I am a big believer in as above so below. I've seen it play out so many times in my life, and then how you called it, that's the end for them. It's almost like it is even if it's not, maybe you could say, a physical manifestation of an energetic parasite, it's a host that this energetic and spiritual parasite can use to kind of mess with you. And I actually kind of want to bring up a couple comments some people said in the chat about this. So let me get up to Sam's. She said something about thought loops. Yep, the thought loops are a big giveaway, especially when it comes to energetic parasites. So no, and I mean, I would honestly say too, like we can pick up energy. We're gonna dive in a little bit deeper too. I would even say that the mind viruses going around are almost like energetic parasites in and of themselves.
The what?
The mind viruses.
Oh, the mind virus. Oh, God.
Yeah. So we have the bipartisan system mind virus. People either putting and I completely am at the point where I think that people who buy into this system 100%, and they buy into it like they freaking pick their favorite team, whether it's red or blue.
That's the whole system. That's the thing. That's the whole system. They gave us the bread and the circuses, all right? They gave us sport. They, all of these little things, distraction. But we're not being taught all of this information that we've got now. We should know that when we're little kids.
Absolutely.
We should know that when we're little kids. So we're going to be, I'm sorry, I jumped off your question.
No, you're okay. Go. No, roll with it. You're all good. Roll with it.
Okay, so like when you turn around and go, no, there's so much more to who I am, and I want to know. But anything attached to the tentacle system, government, any kind of attachment, they're not working in. For me personally, I only speak about myself. You can see it for in your own story. They have never worked for me in my best interests.
100%.
Right? It's always about what they can take from me. So I've got to go, okay, what reality do I want to be in? What reality do I want for the future? Not just for myself, but for my animals, for my friends, my Furby friends, my environment, my plants. What do I want for the air, the element? Because all of this is all a part of me too. I am part of all of that too, because I am within this environment. I am making these frequencies just as they are. When something's not right in my area, the frequency gets a bit out, I feel it. we are very sensitive creatures, and we are bogged down. Our senses have been bogged down. Our compassion has been, it's everything has been cloned. All our senses have been mimicked, so that they put on these virtual reality glasses, they listen to the sounds in their ears, they can't even speak anymore because everything's deep faked. You look at, okay, now this thing that took place a few years ago, how devastating was it really? How many real people are there actually left, or how many are tapped in now? This is a thing that happens over time. The frequencies get stronger and stronger. So what you couldn't hear yesterday, now you're drawn to today. So it's like, okay, we got to get stronger. As we get stronger, we realize we need to clean this stuff out of our system. You find out what you're eating, how you're communicating with your environment. I say thank you to my food every time I go to eat it. Every time I go to make something, I'm doing it with bare fingers. So I'm taking in all the information from my fingertip senses to my gut brain, to my brain, to my heart brain, to every other place, for harmonics. And I have to make sure that before it gets to a certain place.
Oh, you froze up a second. I'll hold space for you. But no, I'm glad you said it, because the reason that what I was alluding to with that question is, I think that people who buy into this system the way they do, they start to channel these dark egregoric entities, or they start to channel this dark energy that exists, and they open themselves up to channeling this with their free will, by actually buying into this system. And even though they are consciously unaware, it is still what I would call I lost Stone, but it is still what I would call a free will, revelation of the method, karmic retribution, all of those things. So absolutely, I do think that is the case. We will wait for Stone to get back, but in the meantime, I do, hopefully her power didn't go out. If not, we will roll. I will get back to her. But one of the things my friend and viewer Sam brought up, have you ever come across an etheric government agency? Yes, I have. So I'm going to elaborate on this. I had an experience where I saw the hopefully she comes back. Yes, she does have a show, Dyanna. Yes, it's linked in the Rumble and the YouTube descriptions for the show. She's got a website. But what I was kind of addressing to Sam's question real quick, yes, I have. So back in, a lot of you have heard me talk about my DMT experience from 2022, the thing that kind of broke me wide open to where I am at today with things. I was on my spiritual evolution before, but that experience in and of itself was earth-shattering and belief-shattering in the best way possible, because I would not be here where I'm at today if that experience didn't happen. But I did see the Invisible College. They have access to, I want to say it's at least fourth density or fourth dimension. They have access. I know Phil's going to get on me for that, but the fourth dimension, we'll just leave it at that. But they do have access to it, and they got access, and all of the intelligence agencies globally have access to this higher realm. And it is a way that they try to monitor us in a different fashion, at least in my opinion, from what I saw. In that DMT experience, when I was being shown how manufactured this reality truly is. And that blew my mind, because I had always believed it was manufacturing. This reality was manufactured. It was fake. But to the extent that I saw it was fake, is what absolutely blew my mind. And this is where I saw this, Sam. I did see that there are government agencies that are in higher realms at this point. They have access to higher realms. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. But we're going to hold space for Stone for a little bit, for another 6 minutes, just in case she comes back. If not, we will have to pick this up at another time. But other than that, guys, one of the biggest messages that I have just been dealing with lately is don't live your life unhappy for another minute. That's the number one thing I'm going to say. The second thing I'm going to say is always love yourself to the point where you know that if you need to do something about any predicament or any situation you're in, to have the strength to do that. So hopefully Stone will come back. I do want to ask her about the Watchers too, if we have time. But other than that, we got Don in the chat. He imbibed tonight on what strain did you take, Don? Do you happen to remember which strain you took tonight? I'm kind of curious, but Don has imbibed on the Liberty Caps tonight. I'm kind of happy for him though, because he hasn't in a while, and I think it was going to do. Golden Teachers. Okay, perfect. So good, man. I'm glad you're having a good time. And yes, everybody, we're gonna hold space for Stone for a minute. But nonetheless, guys, I mean, even as she was saying too, another little hint there on how our kids should know this at a very young age, which I completely agree with. That's another reason you should go over to Transcending Ascension site and buy some of her kids' books, because yes, you can help your kids start to understand this at a younger age and really help them blossom into the beautiful divine beings that they are meant to be. And we have Jason in the chat too. He didn't tell us the strain of the day today, but hopefully he will tell us soon. And yeah, guys, other than that, life's been interesting lately. Life's just been very, very interesting lately for me. I know some of you might have said that I've been a little bit off, but there's just interesting things occurring. And I know right now for a lot of us, we are entering into these moments of these very profound life shifts. Okay, we're having what would seem these upheavals in our life. Things are getting torn away. Funk from Mars. There we go. That's the strain for today. And we're having a lot of the familiarity torn away from us, and we are having what would seem like a lot of purging, a lot of a huge demolition in our lives. And just one of the biggest things I'm going to say to everybody out there too is embrace it, have no fear, understand that the divine is working for you. Always understand that the divine's always working for you, even though you might feel sad sometimes, even though you might feel frustrated sometimes. Just always know and have that unshakable trust in the divine, and know that you are being guided towards your most joyful, abundant, happy life always. But speaking of mushrooms, I actually have decided I'm going to be taking a break from macro doses for a while in my own journey. So it's not going to be permanent, but your boy here has gone in quite a bit lately, and it is it's time to give the mind and the body some recuperation, and definitely some integration. That's for sure. So, but and then we have saying my energy body always feels phenomenal. That's because you're fresh. That's because you're fresh into this. Watch, as you become more seasoned, you're going to feel like me. You're going to be like, yes, it's great. Like, yes, my energy body does feel great. But as you dive deeper into these experiences, what's going to happen to you they're going to become more immense and more immense and more immense. And thank you, Coffee Stain Mug. Yes, process time is a healthy choice. Thanks for saying that. It is this is then Sam. Oh, there she goes. Stone Hobbit's back. Let's bring her back on. Hey, I saw your power went out.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It was like blah, 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 blah.
They must not like what we're talking about. They must not like it. I was actually so Sam brought up a really good question, and maybe we'll pick your brain on this too. So she was talking about, have you ever seen an etheric government of some kind, like, or government agencies in the etheric realm? And
yeah. Yes.
I have two. I have two. I was telling a little bit. Let's hear your story though, because mine everybody's heard 1,000 times here. Let's hear your story about it.
Okay. I went into one of my states that I go into, and I ended up on a landing bay, like a, out of Star Wars, docking bay. And then I went to this one wall, and then going through the wall, I mean, the space opened up and I went through. It was like you couldn't see where the doors were. You had to be there to know. And then the next layer, I went through that layer, and then there was another layer. And when I was in that layer, there were all these humanoid forms. They all wore like this crimson outfit suit thing. And they all had the same kind of haircut. And then I went in, I was taken up the front, and I spoke to, there was a woman leader. She looked just the same as everybody else. You wouldn't have even, if you didn't know the small details, you wouldn't have been able to tell them apart. And she showed me the hierarchy. She showed me that there was a policing of, who can see what. And I only was allowed to go to that level. There was no animals, there were no children, there were no aged people, there was nothing like that. So I knew that there had to be other layers. This wasn't just a factory, this was a humanoid civilization. And then also going into a couple of the other experiences, like I was going through a dimension, and then I realized I was going through two dimensions. And the girl off the, I always get it wrong, but she's the one out of the ring. She's looking down a well, and she's got all the.
Yeah.
I had an experience with a being like that, and I was stuck between these different dimensions, and she pulled me through. Now, it's very rare for me to actually accept the hand of any being, and I even had JC come and offer me his hand, but I wouldn't take it. I didn't feel it was real, so I didn't take it. But it was a hand. It's always the hand and the face thing that they use with me. And so for some reason, out of all the beings that have been, I accepted her hand. And she pulled me through, and she said, "They know you're here." And I turned around to see who they were, and saw two, almost like Men in Black, running towards where I was at. When I turned back to see this Asian figure girl, she was gone. She was, I don't know where she went. She knew she was gone. And so I took one step, and I just basically ricocheted so far forward, and I realized I was, dimensional. So by being dimensional, you have different abilities. You became basically X-Men. So I ran around all of this place and stuff, and then I came back to the same location, and I managed to get out. And when I got out, one of these beings stepped through. Okay, it stepped through. And when people talk about shadow beings and shadow entities, when I was able to sit up, snap out of my trance, and look straight at the direction the shadow being, this person who was chasing me, came through, he was now a shadow being. When he stepped in from solid form into our reality, he was shadow. He was a shadow being. There was no face, there was nothing. But in his realm, there was. But for me, and I've backtracked so many times, it's like once you have an experience, you go back and you go back and you go, and you start going, okay, this is a personal self-regression. I want to see what was in there. I don't want any bullshit. I want the real stuff. This is what I remember. and so when I fly past this it's like a glass building pyramid. They're all like this. It had rings like the Commonwealth rings on the side of it. And when I went past it, I did not see a human. I saw an orb.
Interesting.
And it's a real buzzy. It's like a buzzy trip for me because I have a lot of orbs. I have a friendly orb that comes up. It's always showing up in my photos. I got so many. You can actually see the same one over and over again. Showed me danger is communicated with different people around the world. We've tried different experiments with people who also see orbs for all of us to see the same orb. That's mind-blowing. That was absolute confirmation for me there. So, and I'm sorry, I probably lost the question.
You're okay. No. You did great. No, and I'll tell you my story a little bit. I mean, they've heard it on here before, but I'll be brief. So, so I've been on my spiritual evolution since 2008, and I woke up very young. I was 20 years old, and I paddled my little tiny life raft out into the esoteric Marianas Trench, and I set my oar down. I had no life jacket, and I jumped right in. Yep. So hard and fast has always been the way for me, but it works for me. I don't know why,
Yep.
but in June of 2022, I had a very, what I would call, profound, earth-shattering, belief-shattering experience. And in this experience, I was taken to what I was told was the true Garden of Eden. And I found out that I'm an angel seed, and there then and there. But at the tail end of this experience, the beings who took me to this place and gave me this remembrance, they showed me how manufactured this reality truly is. And this was beyond, because I've always believed it. I always knew it. But to see the extent of how manufactured this reality was, it completely, I had to take like a couple months after that and go back to the spiritual drawing board and just start, reworking some things after that.
Yeah.
But in that experience, I saw that the global intelligence agencies do have access to higher realms. They have found they've gotten it from some kind of entity or some kind of being that gave them this access to the higher dimensions. And I saw them operating in the higher dimensions while I was in this experience. And so no, like there is some kind of etheric intertwining when it comes to the control structure here, and they have definitely moved. They're not just in the physical realm anymore. They've moved into, I even have reports of people taking psychedelics and running into etheric CIA agents and things like that. So I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that either. I was just throwing that in there.
My younger days, there were agents of all sorts always around. When I was about between I think it was 11, 12, 13, I had an implant taken out from between my nose bridge and my eyebrow, and that was at Port Edwin Hospital. This was going back 1980s sometime. And I wasn't the only one in there. There was a little Asian boy opposite me in the same ward. He got the same piece of metal removed from up there. We don't know how it got there. I was too young to even be aware of any of this stuff. I don't think I could have even saved it if I tried. But I've still got other implants in me. These agents will show up. In this place where I just had my, big awakening, woke up to it all and just kicked it all out. The chaos anyway, the whole chaos, part of it. I would have total strangers turn up, and they're always little. They're always shorter than I am, and they always seem so frail, but I know that they're not. I had a small guy come to my door, my glass door, knock on it. He had a clipboard, and he asked for me by name. Now, there was no way he would know me by that name, right? I haven't used that name for years, safety reasons. And he asked me if I could see his wife. And the first thing I did was look around to see if she was in my blooming lounge. Now, why would I do that? You know, when we start asking ourselves what our mannerisms are, if you get asked by a stranger, can you see my wife? And you turn around and look around for her, there's something different going on, because normally a person would be standing at the front door. Why would they be in the house? So, and I just basically turned around and said, yes, next time you bring her along, I'm happy to see her. You know, and it's like, I had these two people land on my doorstep. Any kind of excuse they could get whatever, to get into the property, into the house, talk to me, anybody on the property, they would do so. You know, that game they used to use for, like, it wasn't Pikachu, but they would go house to house, and you know, it was a geographical game by the government. They would just say, okay, if you want to get this point, you go and take a photo at that house. I forgot what it was called.
Was that called, what was it? Randonautica?
No, it's like a Pokemon game.
Pokemon Go?
Something like that.
Pokemon Go, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And you'd find strangers at my gate taking photos in my property. And I'm like, what's going on here? You know, I've got video footage of police choppers flying around and round and round and round. I had people coming up, you know, military people in fatigues coming up the backyard through the bush onto my property. I'm like, what the flip? You know, everywhere I've gone, there's been some form of surveillance. So, you know, they know that I know. There's just no point in trying nothing. You know, they're having people come to the house to try to put a smart meter on. Stand in your rights. Know what your rights are. Say no. These guys are not doing anything in my best interest for me, so they need to be gone. They don't need to be on my property or trying to get into the house or anything like that. So it comes down to, when you are good with your inner self, you know the voice, you know what's going on around you and everything, you start recognizing all the players, everybody who's playing, whether it's a form of emotional entanglement, triggering, where it goes, why it feels the way it does, and it gets shorter and shorter. Now, you were saying something about it works fast. You've done it before. If you hadn't done it before, you'd be still working at it. But as soon as you get it, you move on. It's like people turn around and say, well, you've had 7 jobs. Geez, you're not very reliable. No, it's not that at all. This person is one looking for what fits for them, right? And it's fast. It's not as slow as you think it is. People that get programmed and stay in one position the whole time, they're comfortable there, comfortably numb. You know, there's so many areas of programming. Pick one thing for 1 week and tell yourself that you're going to improve it. Okay, whatever it is. You don't brush your hair every day. Now suddenly you're brushing your hair every day. Don't, because it's not a good thing for you. You know, there's all these different little things that you can do to improve yourself and keep yourself protected from the influences from anybody out there, whether they are undercovers. I know that I've had people come into my home when I haven't been there. It's a feeling, it's a sense, it's a knowing. When you start going, okay, I now start trust. I can't trust anybody. I can't trust anybody. So can I trust in myself? Wait a minute. I don't know who I am. I'll give myself that 99% because I know that much of me. But I'm going to allow myself that 1% of doubt, because anything is possible. All right. So when you know, I'm not fallible. As soon as I turn around and go, okay, I make mistakes, but they're not mistakes. They are mistakes. So I get to do it again. You know,
I dig that.
Start breaking down the words that they throw at us. One on my list. Okay, here's my list. I wasn't joking.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay, the thing about karma, right? That really, at one stage, yeah, it was all the thing, it was, yeah, okay. No, it doesn't sit right with me anymore because there's
I would agree.
too much acceptance of harm. Too much. If there was any such thing as karma, it would have kicked all of that in the butt. We wouldn't be here repeating our ancestral traits. We would be improving so we didn't cause harm. This place would be utopia. We know it. We absolutely know it. Take away the geneticists, the genetic manipulation, purify the water, get rid of those lovely white dragons across the sky. I mean, well, that gives dragons a bad name. I'm not doing that. Chemtrails, okay. When we start taking responsibility for ourselves, that also means our inner self-awareness. That also means that all the spirits around us are going to say hello. They're going to say hello. And as long as you're good in here, you can tell them all to back off. You don't need any of that if you don't want it. There's so many awesome things that we could be doing that we're not doing because of the distractions that are here. Distractions. I just sort of thought I saw somebody move out of the corner of my eye, but I'm the only one in here.
You never know. One thing I want to ask you about real quick. I don't want to cut you off, but you brought up something really interesting. You talked about karma, and
that's what I'm trying to say. Yep.
So, you talked about karma, yeah.
So karma being my understanding when I was younger was karma was something that you regret, something that you have to make up for, something you have to pay back. In my shaman days and the journeys that I went on, and I saw families being cursed and they had a family hex on them and all of this, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, this child had nothing to do with this, but it's the lineage. So anyway, it goes back. You discover that everybody's connected to something like that. But in the now, we have this opportunity, and this is what the shift is. This is what the lifting of the veil is. We no longer need to stay in someone else's stuck state of karma. Absolutely. So I changed the spell casting of karma. There is another word called karma. So when you take a breath, you become calmer. And when you become calmer, you balance those chemicals in your brain so you can make the right decision. So you can say, hey, no, wait a minute. I don't need to take that with me to the next line, to the next life. Anything that I may have done in the past, if I'm not mentally and physically aware of it, then it's null and void. If you step into the whole common law aspect of it, the straw man identity aspect of it, it's not valid. All right. It's not yours. If you are aware of something that you've done that may cause somebody else karma, or you want to go there with that, you go and do something about it. You go and do something about it. You make sure you don't repeat it again. So it's Absolutely. Like, okay, it's identifying what you can change. And the shift is the changing the perception of words. When you change the spell casting that's out there, and that lifts the veil. It lifts the veil. Nobody has power over you anymore. And I don't know how much time we've got left, but I do want to cover.
We can go a little bit. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying this, dude. I'm just so happy to see that you and I are very much. I can't wait to come on your show. Let's put it that way. I can't wait.
It'll be the same thing, but I'm probably going to hammer you with what do you see? Your spirit wise. Show me something, because I can show you some. I don't even know how this stuff happens. Okay, so I think is it Cosmic Voice? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't scroll
Phil,
back.
Yeah, that's Phil. Cosmic, that's Phil. Cosmic Voice, yep.
So I'm bad with dates and stuff, but yeah, I bumped into Phil, and it turns out we lived in the same location at the same time, and we saw the same beings. I believe they're the same beings. And if you're looking out now around Guy Fawkes, Pars Park, You'll probably see them go and sit up at Waikamiti Cemetery Hill and look over Pars Park. He knows what I'm talking about. But
That's
these
interesting.
orange plasma spheres that everybody's doing all the talking and stuff about back in the day, these things were coming around, and they're not things. They are conscious, living beings. All right. They know when you know they're there. They can communicate to let you know that they're coming. So you see them. They've came through my room. I had one come through my room. It was still daytime. I'm sitting up in bed. I'm waiting for my friend to come back. One of these plasma spheres comes into the room, and it morphed into a human-like figure, quite tall, quite big. And I'm like, I can't move. I'm not paralyzed or anything like that. I could physically move if I really
You're
wanted
astonished. You're astonished. Yeah.
Yeah. And then as it moves down the side of the bed, it splits, it morphs into two. So there's a taller one and there's a shorter one. At this stage, I'm still not feeling any panic or any fear or nothing. And I'm like, this is a male and this is a female, just because of the shape. They morph back into one, go along the foot of the bed and up the side that I'm sitting on. And then he leans over top of me and he takes on a human skin coming up, taking on facial features and stuff, gets to the eyebrows, and I've recognized the face. And I freaked out, because the thing that crept in was, is this my partner who's gone for a walk? He does night runs and stuff around the block. Has he been hit by a vehicle? Is this his spirit? Is this what is it that I'm encountering? So I bolted out of the room, and as soon as I got to the lounge, my friend walked in through the front door. He walked in, so it wasn't him. My boarder, my flatmate, came running out. It's like, what's going on? Because he said that the sounds that I was making as I ran out of the room screaming was that he thought I was being stabbed. It sounded like that. So there was something to it. I've had years to analyze it, and I go over and over it. Okay, took on the facial features of somebody I knew. That's deceptive behavior. But at the same time, I have to give some allowance, because that's what they obviously tapped into me and found that I was comfortable enough. It was familiar for me to communicate with them. Now, I'm not going to make up excuses for the fact that they did that, but I'm aware that that's what they did. Now, being in communication with all these different beings, I've seen them shapeshift. I've seen them change. I've seen them come through other people. So it's like, when you are aware of what they're doing, what are the boundaries? Set yourself boundaries. So what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and stick to them. Because these beings, they will just come in. You were talking earlier about different dimensions and stuff. I started noticing with the orbs, when they were coming in and communicating, that we had been dimensionally hijacked by other parasitical, now call them all parasitical entities. Anything that is not willing to show itself has a form of parasitical entity to it. Okay, that's how I see it. And when they do show themselves and stuff, I still, come on, I want the full package, not just the snapshot from the distance, So it's like being aware of what these things are doing. I don't know how many years now I've had with these plasmas beings, but the one that got shot, that everybody's seeing got shot, and it burst out 3 out the back end of it. They are what I have seen. Okay. They came over top of the house one day, because these things came in so low that if I had a broom handle, I could have pushed it up inside. It was like a big sack, and these orange plasma spheres would come down underneath the power lines and go up underneath into the sack, and the sack would like dim it out. It was like totally camouflaged. You couldn't see them on the outside. Because I'd had so much contact, I was able to recognize these pretend shadow clouds moving around townships and stuff. And I would see these things come out. They like to flow. They like to go around about waist height when there's a big crowd of people, when it is Guy Fawkes, because people are so in another mindset that they're not seen. So,
Absolutely.
it's and you were saying earlier, the way out, and this is all comes back to psychology, right? Is reverse psychology. You want to be here. You want to be here. If you want to leave,
Absolutely.
that's the only way you got to go. You got to want to be here. Okay, this is Garden of Eden, and we have the ability to change our environment. Just thinking about it. Just think about it. What if you could, if all of us could think of the same picture, watch it form. This is what one of the things I'm having. Okay, another orb. Okay, this is like the 3-eye atlas to me, once again,
Okay.
is all our collective energies. Now look at where all that, they're all focused in different areas. Some people say it's a rock. Some people say it's a spaceship. Some people say it's blue beam. Well, my personal thing is it's blue beam, ancient AI blue beam.
Interesting.
And there is no such thing as time. Time is linear or whatever they say it is.
Oh,
Time
yes.
time is perception of the space you're in at that particular space.
No, I completely agree with you on that. I actually, to me, it's I call time this. I use this analogy because I had a guest on a few weeks ago. I say, take a record, right?
Yeah.
Like a record, like an old vinyl, or even a CD, right? We'll even do that for common terms. Everything's already on that CD, or everything's already on that record. Just you're listening to the one song, or you're
Yeah.
focusing on the one song. So that's how I see it. But continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no. It's fine. That's fine. This is how we learn. This is how we learn. Yeah. Those beings showed me. I've had other beings. Like I had little greys come into my room, and that was the first time I recognized their energy. All right. I recognized it. I was like in bed with my partner at the time. The kids were in their room. I had 3 kids. They were in their room. The door had no lock on it. I had no door. My room was an archway. And my partner and I, we were back to back, so we're facing outwards. And all of a sudden I could see my 3-year-old kid standing in the archway, and I'm thinking, what are you doing there? And within poof, just like it was faster than I've even got words for, I realized it wasn't him. I recognized the figure, and it was like, this is before I had the internet and any of this stuff. Okay. And it was, I screamed at it. I'm screaming at it. And then that's when we realized that we were both paralyzed. We were in a physical paralyzation. We could not move physically. We knew we were back to back, yet it felt like we were face to face and we were communicating. Right. Oh God, yeah. It was really freaky, but I broke my paralysis by recognizing that this creature, this little grey with the big head, was going to do harm to my kids. I knew for me to swear and carry on the way I did, like I was screaming my internal lungs out for this being to leave my kids alone. Don't touch my kids. Now, for me to have that fear factor and all that passion inside there told me I was 100% on, I've had these experiences with these beings before being taken. I didn't need any other confirmation. I was already going down that line. But for me to have that reaction, and then to see the light and everything else that came through from those beings. So I got to see different shape-shifting, different forms of hijacking and manipulation when we're not aware, when we're in certain states, and how we feel we're in stuck state. Every stuck state you're able to get out of. You've just got to reprogram your mind. Like when I was in a reptilian, I was being held.
Screw those guys. I'm just gonna say it. I'm not even gonna give them any attention, but I'm just gonna say screw those guys. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Oh, look, honestly, what your abilities are way more than what we've been told, because we are so powerful. Our energy to heal, not just ourselves, but each other. I know that in a couple of my past lifetimes, I never needed to use my voice to speak. We sang as a medicine to heal each other, for levitation and all these other forms. We used our voices for that. You know, it was always bountiful, and we had that level of telepathy to communicate. And this is why we didn't need our voice, because we were already telepathic. Now, people turn around and say, this is where I'm going to break all spell castings for you. When they turn around and say, you need to have this, this, and this, and this. Oh, and don't forget that list over there too, to be something, to be telepathic. Do you hear your own voice? Does it sound like the voice coming out here? Do you answer yourself? Do you do what yourself tells you to do? Oh, look, on your way out, don't forget A, B, and C. It'll save time. Are you hearing that? That's you. That's the power that you have. This is your inner self, your inner voice, your higher voice telling you. We have so much potential. If you start doing what your higher voice tells you to do, and it's for the betterment of you and your surroundings, you're only going to go faster. You're going to get through any problem that shows itself faster, because you're stepping into your future self. You want to live in the future. You want abundance. It's coming to you, I don't know where that came from. Sorry.
No, you're all good. No, I'm loving every minute. In fact, you gave me some big confirmations on some things, just with a couple of things you said. So, I have in a lot of ways in my own spiritual evolution become aware of my past existences, a great deal of them. Yeah. And in Atlantis, that's what they did. They used their voice like that they used their voice like that. It's for these things. I call it I was actually talking with my group of friends about it, because we were all having the similar memory. And it was like, yeah, we have this ability with our voices. Like we could do things like with our voice, like, it was like abilities and things like that. And you just nailed that. I mean, you just hit that. And but no, as far as the grays, so I'll kind of give you like a little preemptive of what I see spiritually too, so you can kind of keep this in your mind before you have me on the show. But yeah, you can write this down. Let's just say the Elohim and I are very intertwined.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
I'm going to say that the Elohim and I are very intertwined. I do experience them to a very huge degree, because, for a lack of better words, we are one and the same, them and I. And then I experience the reptiles. I've had to let it go, though, because it was drawing them to come up. But there is and it's probably because of the Elohim factor. I have a very deep-seated disgust for them because of what they did to us. And I have memories of them basically causing the fall of Atlantis and them infiltrating our society. And I tried to fight against it, but everybody kind of fell prey to what they were doing. So that's another thing too, that I have a bone to pick. And what's really interesting too is I experience the orbs. I experience a lot of very interesting things. But I wanted to say, the experience with the grays, that's very interesting, because I had an experience when I was 8 years old that I still can't explain. It was probably one of the most realistic dream that I've ever had in my life to date. We'll put it that way. And I will tell you about it on your show for sure. But what's really interesting about the grays is my mom had experiences with them. And she had experiences them, one when she was 5 years old, and then 40 years later, when she was 45, she had another experience with them. And so it's just, I just got oh my goodness, I just got your photo. Let me see if I can bring this up. Yes, absolutely, we're bringing this up.
Finish your Gray story first.
So my mom, when she was 5 years old, and I think this maybe has something to do with the way I am, I don't know, but when my mom was 5 years old, she was awoken at night, and she was paralyzed, she couldn't move. And she would tell me, Stephen, my bed was surrounded by the very short gray aliens.
Oh, good.
She said, and she said one of them was laying right next to me, staring me in my face. And what they did is they injected me with something, is what she told me. They injected her with something.
Yeah.
And then after they injected her with something, they ended up disappearing. She could move, she could talk, like she wasn't able to do that before. So 40 years later, she was 45. Same thing happens. But this time she was in New York when she was a kid. But she was in Florida this time when it happened. And she woke up again. She was paralyzed. She couldn't move. Yep. And the grays, and this time they brought the tall ones with her. She told me they brought the tall ones with her this time. And again, and I know, Phil, I'm very aware. I've had some conscious experiences minus the dream, plus the dream I had when I was 8. But and then the tall gray was laying in the bed next to her this time, staring at her like right in the face. And ended up injecting her with something again, a similar thing. And but no, dude, I've seen some things in my life. Let's put it this way, and I still see things in my life. But the most prominent force that I would say that I see on a consistent basis is the Elohim.
Yeah. I got a few years ago now. I asked a question. I was doing some EVPs and I was doing some, a ghost tour and stuff. And I asked a question. I said, tell me about, what am I talking to? And it came back on the EVP as fallen angel. And I said, tell me about the fallen angel. And so I got this crazy laugh on the EVP, and both my camera and the recorder both stopped. So, and it took me a year to be able to actually get the recording off the cell phone. Anyway, I managed to get it. Yeah, I got it. But it's never worked again properly. But then in the between time of me getting that message, I was still asking, tell me about the fallen angel. And I got a message. I got an orb came through the wall on the corner of the wall. And basically what I got was, angels back then are us today. So where they have the geneticists, the doctors, all the stuff, they had their own version. And when AI was introduced, there was their AI was us. Okay. We are, angel intelligence is what I got. The message was, we are the version of AI that the angels didn't want. This is what the war in heaven was about. And I'm like, what? I don't do this heaven stuff. I did. And then I lost my son. He passed on to a cot death. And then I had all these spiritual experiences straight after. I had a Jesus Christ coming down the steps, holding my son's hand. I was in the paralyzed state. I didn't know about this whole night terror thing or any of that at that stage, but I was still experiencing them ever since I could remember. I was having those. And when I questioned what was happening in the scenario, it gone, and I felt like I'd hit the bed. I just like, boom. I could feel the weight, the coldness, everything. I just came back into. And then I'm like begging, let it happen again. I won't be such a coward. Please let it happen. I just, I want to see my son. and boom, the room just lit up again, and it was like it hadn't stopped. Okay. And when my son held out his hand, because he was holding Jesus's hand, when he held his hand out to me, and I almost touched it, I don't know what would have happened if I had, but there was something that didn't sit right with me. It wasn't right. It's like this thing about Jesus, this is not how I see him. And it was all of a sudden the illusion of his image changed, and the image of my son changed. It was a tall grey and it was a short grey, and they were using my memories to hijack me. Sorry, yes, I'm still a bit pissed off at that, but
I can understand why you would be. I can understand.
But it was one of those learning about what these beings are capable of doing. I don't know if they knew that I was going to have more encounters with them, for the rest of my life, because I must have had at least 10 of that particular group since then. They've come to the rest of my kids. They've come to my grandkids. It's like, if your mum or your grandparents are experiencing some of this, then you probably are too, or probably have chips and stuff as well. So it is a bloodlines thing. They do come back. They do check up on us.
It is. It isn't. It isn't my blood. I got confirmation from it. I'll go ahead and just tell you the story real quick so you can think about it.
Okay.
I'll make it short. But so I was 8 years old, and I was awake at night in my room, and I'm still not sure to this day if I was dreaming or not. It seemed very realistic, but I remember my door opens and these two little boys come in, and these two little boys, they were twins. They looked exactly the same. They had this weird brown hair bowl cut. They had brown hair and they had this weird bowl cut. They had blue eyes and they were wearing like the same yellow and blue, like jumpsuit, like a jumpsuit. And I remember I'm like looking at them. Of course, young 8-year-old me is all like, "Oh, new friends. Awesome." Like I'm excited about this. And then they said, "We want you to come with us." And I said, "Okay, hell yeah." And I hopped out of my bed and I walked down the stairs. Now, mind you, when I was a kid, my house was on a cul-de-sac, and that's going to be very important to the next part of this story. They opened the front door to my house, and I walk outside, and there's no cul-de-sac. There's no neighborhood. There is just my house itself in the middle of this gigantic field. And then there's a weird-looking hot air balloon sitting in the middle of this field. So they walk me up to this hot air balloon, right? And they help me inside, and then I don't know. The thing I don't remember is whether they hit like a switch or something, but then the hot air balloon starts to go up. And I remember I'm looking over the edge and I'm looking at this, it was like literally this dimension that was just a gigantic field. That's what it looked like. And my house was in the middle of this field. And as I was going up in the hot air balloon, I'm like looking down at this and I'm like, holy crap, like what is going on? And then I remember as I'm looking up, the stars are getting closer and closer. The earth's getting farther and farther away. And then we stop in the stratosphere, right above the earth. And then I remember they looked at me. And now when I say it wasn't aggressive, but it was firm. The both of them took me and sat me down. Yeah. It sat me down, and then they took their fingers and they started poking me with their fingers. And then when they started poking me with their fingers, it felt like an electrostatic. Yeah. That's the best way to describe it. And there was a little light that would come up when they would poke me with them. And they did this for about 15 minutes, what it felt like. And I remember it didn't feel good and it didn't feel bad, but it felt strange. That's the best way I can describe it. And then they did this for about 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden the hot air balloon started coming back down. And I'm as we're approaching the earth, I see just my house in this field dimension or wherever the hell it was, or wherever the hell they had me at this point in time. And so they lowered the hot air balloon right into the exact same place it was when I left my house. They helped me out of the hot air balloon. They walked me right back up the stairs into my house. And then when I got into my room, because I thought they were following me, I turned around and they were gone. Yeah. And I remember, it was interesting because I told my mom about the dream the next day, and she had this look on her face. like when I told her, like I still remember the look. Like she's like looking at me with this look, and I was like telling her, like, yeah, I got taken in this hot air balloon by these two kids last night, and they were like poked and prodded me, and it felt like electrical. I can't explain it. And I do know what really happened, Phil. I'm very aware of what happened. And so then she had this look, but then going back to her stories about the Greys, now I know why she had the look when I told her that, because she was like, my God, he's experienced it too. And that's where I did find out later down the line that I do have a bloodline, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, that was like me too. I couldn't figure out why all of these things were happening on, when I was married and I was in a relationship, and and then I discovered the whole bloodline thing. I discovered why they wanted to take my blood, and it's like, how does this stuff happen? How does it actually? But anyway, it was really good. It was like, okay, I got to see why there was so much manipulation going on, why there was, it was physical, mental, and spiritual, the whole lot of them. And it's like, no, I'm not going to allow the corruption. I'm not going to allow this. And this is what, when it comes to, I don't do the whole Bible thing anymore, but I have a moral compass, and the messages in the Bible, it's like in the 10 Commandments and stuff, they're blueprints. As far as I'm concerned, they're blueprints for our moral compasses. And that's where the whole karma thing and stuff is like, if we are good with ourselves, or we are right with our God, we are right with our God, and that this is important to us, because they can't manipulate that. When you know what your source God is, they can't manipulate that. They can't take that from you as much as they want to. And I do look at all the programming. I was raised with a Catholic background and stuff, but I was also raised in a a pedophile ring. Okay, and to see how the government, because my grandfather was, he worked in the parliament. He was a PM here, and oh God, there's just so much to it. When you realize every single one of us has a story, we have deep ancestral underlying threads, all right, and they pull us all back together. Every time there's a reset, our threads get pulled to get, and I feel like this is coming again with the influences, the pressures on the planet. I mean, I don't believe that everything that is happening weather-wise on this planet is natural. It's been sped up, it's been manipulated, it's been forced. And so the ramifications are going to be pretty much biblical. They're going to be biblical. They already are. And it's happening everywhere. It's not just in that country or that country. It's happening everywhere. And so the whole preparedness thing is not just about what you got in your cupboards, what you got in your first aid kit. What you've got spiritually is important to you in this now as well. Use your right eyes. I don't know where
Absolutely.
I was going with that one. But
no, you.
When you're talking about the Greys and stuff, it's like, with my night terrors, I don't look at them as a terror anymore. I look at them as accessing these different dimensions. And in one of the potent ones, I mean, I get lots of them all the time, but there's one or two really big ones. And when I say one or two, there's more than that, but anyway, they send now an orb to let me know that there is going to be contact made. So when I start getting the signals and signs and stuff, I know that my body's going to take on a certain vibration. It's going to do this and that. And then I'm going to release, and I'm going to be in the other dimension. The last one, I had the blue orb. My cat saw it. I had everything set up. I haven't played it to you yet, but I will send you a copy of it. I did manage to get a recording of it audio, and I don't know how many times I listened to it, but I cried. I went through all the, wow, my God, does that what I really sound like when that happens? And I was really apologetic to all my kids and my partner, and because I had no idea of the terror. It's scary. It was really scary. But when I was in that stasis of communicating with the being, who turned out to be a tall white grey, different to the other ones, it was like this was a friendly conversation. They heard me and they came so that I could ask them questions. But I wasn't prepared to ask questions. I was just surprised that they were even there. And so it showed me that there are ways for us to reach out and to communicate with them, and they are hearing us all the time. And when people talk about the reptilians all being bad, I've got a couple of good reptilians. I've had a reptilian guardian. I have to call them that because a couple of times I wasn't meant to be here, but because of their intervention, I am still here. So I can't speak ill of any of the races of beings, because there's good and bad amongst all,
I definitely agree. Real quick, Phil has a question. He wants to know if you had a lot of bloody noses as a child.
I had bloody noses up until they removed the chip out of my nose, out of the bridge of they told me that I was having concussions, and the concussions were part of the nosebleed, but I know the concussions had nothing to do with the nosebleeds. But anyway, that was just the life I was in at the time. But yes, I as a kid, heaps and heaps. But I could probably actually go back to, I crashed into a lamppost and went blind. And that's when I noticed I started getting the nosebleeds, was after I was returned home. And when it was looked at, it had nothing to do with the visuals or anything like that. They couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't until about 10 years later, not even 10 years later, 9 years later, eight or 9 years later, that's when they removed it out of my eye. So the bridge up here. So
dang,
yeah.
man. Well, alrighty, Stone. We're gonna go ahead and man, I didn't even get a chance to. So we're gonna have to pick this up when I come on your show. We're gonna have to pick this up. And if you want to hang out for a couple minutes after the show's over, we'll chat about that. We'll get a date nailed down real quick. And I would absolutely be honored to be on your show. And the number one thing I want to say tonight about you is man, I'm really happy to sit down with you. That's pretty much it. I'm just real happy to sit down with you because yes, both you and I are very much on the same wavelength. I mean, you talk about, inner accountability, removing the programming, understanding that you are your own source of power, and that you have the ability to overcome all of this and turn yourself into your higher self, your future you, or however you want to look at it. And I got to tell you, you have been speaking my language ever since we started, and I'm just ecstatic, and I honestly I cannot wait to be on your show. So guys, we have Stone Hobbit's info, her YouTube channel, her Rumble channel, and her website in both the YouTube and the Rumble description. And so definitely go over, man, after you're done here tonight, go over and give Stone Hobbit a follow. Yes, please hit that like and follow if you did like what you heard tonight. But nonetheless, Stone, if there's anything else you're working on, I know you do groups and stuff. Why don't you enlighten everybody on that now?
All right, why don't just give me a second? I've got to find the flyer so I can get the time right.
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay, so I run a group called Hearthfire Hangout, and that is tomorrow. New Zealand time is 9 a.m. EDT is 4 p.m. MDT is 2, or PDT is 1. So I'll give you the flyer anyway, and it's through Zoom. It's a Zoom meeting. So if you're interested in that, I'm not sure where you go to find the details. You'll just have to send me an email, find me on Facebook, or good luck. If it's meant to be, it will be.
I'll have to come one time. No, I'm gonna make time for that. I'd love to come, and you know, because I enjoyed this conversation. Like, man, I can't wait to be on your show. I have a lot of things I want to talk about on your show too. But I definitely want to say thank you for taking time out of your life to sit down with me and have this chat. And thank you so much for always being here. And I'm going to make it a point to now be at your shows as much as I possibly can, because I want to support you. I really like what you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys. So yeah, Stone, if you can just hang out for a couple minutes. Alrighty, guys. So I will be back next week. We got Nick Vertus round 2. We are going to be picking up where we left off from his show just a few weeks ago. We will be talking about possible pragmatic solutions to a new system. And we are going to be talking about how altered our history truly has been. He has hard evidence of a reset. That's all I'm going to say. He's got hard evidence of a reset. It is archaeological. You can't debate it. So I'm really looking forward to that show. But nonetheless, guys, you know what we say here on BG-Cast, as usual. Stay safe, stay free, have that personal agency and that personal sovereignty, and do not be like Elon Musk. Stay away from the fucking Japanese sex robots and Japanese grok. Don't need that mind virus. Leave it alone. You guys have a great night. I will catch you out Wednesday next week at the same time. See you guys.
Collectively together. You were born to rotate with the crowd. You were born to sink with the sacred spiral. The Hercules stream is proof. The cosmos hammers the divergent. BG-Cast brings us that Hercules energy. It's here to save the day. You won't stay lost in the dark. Here is your shot with BG kept beside you. Can we rise alone?